Hey everyone, it's Tobi the Great here, and I'm back with another video. Thanks to all of my recent subscribers for clicking that little button, and I've actually had a lot of you subscribe to me over the last few days, all stemming from one particular video. The worst lines of code ever video that I made in July of last year has gotten quite a bit of attention lately, and I wanted to address it. So as more than a few of you have pointed out, whenever you try to search up Yandere Dev coding or anything related to Yandere Dev, my video for some reason seems to pop up, and also it's actually being suggested by YouTube to a lot of you now that are looking up Yandere Dev and all the recent controversy surrounding his game, which is called Yandere Simulator. Apparently, my video talking about bad coding practices has been deemed very similar to this individual and the development process of his very, very popular game. So I did some research, I took a look at his channel as well as videos from many other channels that have a lot of criticism about his game, the development process, and his ability as a developer in general. I've seen, watched, and read quite a bit about this individual and the game, and it seems that a lot of the content, especially the popular ones that are about this individual, are critical, very negative about him. And the aim of this video is not to pick a side. I mainly want to offer some points that are different from the ones that I'm seeing and hopefully offer a more objective point of view on this situation. But before I do that, I want to make some things clear, so here are a few disclaimers. The first one, a lot of the points that are made about Yandere Dev involve his personality and personal stuff that has nothing to do with his ability as a developer, and that's not my place to talk about, so I won't be talking about them in this video. I will only be talking about the technical details and the development process overall about his game Yandere Simulator. 2, I won't really be going into depth about his game, which again is Yandere Simulator, because there are literally hundreds of videos by him and other people that explain the game and the overall objective and details that aren't necessary for me to just duplicate here. Also, this is a family-friendly channel and that game is rated mature easily. And 3, this is just my opinion. You don't have to agree with me, and in fact, if you don't, I would love it if you talk about it in the comments as well, what your thoughts are about this situation. So the primary thing I hear about Yandere Dev as a developer is that he's mediocre, he doesn't understand basic coding principles, and instead of taking the efficient implementation route, he just prefers to take the easy way and cut corners. In this clip I'm about to show you, he's currently working on a section of his code that he himself admits could be better optimized.
Now, I'm sure that if a real programmer saw this, they'd say, "Dude, what the f*** are you doing? First of all, why are you using else-ifs instead of using switch cases? Where did you learn how to code?" To which I would say, I never had a formal education in learning how to code properly. I just do what works. Sure, it's like 20 lines instead of 1 line, but it functionally does the same thing, and it doesn't... The user's never going to see this. The user will never encounter this. It doesn't matter to the user.
Now, for one, I would say it's a lot easier to criticize someone's implementation when you can actually see it, when it's something that's visible and he's showing right here. I'd argue that a lot of the big apps and products that we use today probably have some messy styles and messy implementation underneath, but it's not shown to the user. And if it doesn't affect our experience, there's no reason inherently to complain about it. Yes, a switch statement would be more efficient and would definitely be more readable for other developers, but it's not that big of a deal. The value gain is pretty insignificant compared to other things. Now, a good counterpoint that I've seen is how some of his implementation choices have caused the runtime of the game to suffer. How a game that should normally be running at 60 frames per second is running for some people at 14 FPS, even with good computers. Yes, that's a very big issue to have a game with that much lag. However, if he's the only developer on a game of this much scale, I think his main focus being on finishing the game should be the primary issue. And if it's a laggy but complete game, I'm sure we'd be in a better state now in terms of conversation around it. Which leads me to my next point. Some people feel that the game is extremely bloated, lacks direction, and altogether has way too many features, creating a never-ending cycle of bug fixing, feature redirection, and altogether never actually finishing the game.
But after 30 months of development, the game still doesn't have an official rival. The game still doesn't have an official rival. the game still doesn't have an official rival.
Now, that criticism is well warranted, but think about it like this. If you're a developer and you've ever worked on a game, an app, or a project by yourself, I'm sure you've had a bunch of features that you've wanted to add to it that ended up not really making the cut or caused you to never finish the project because you realized that you bit off way more than you could chew. This extends to way past coding. Let's say you're an author, you wanted to write a book, or you're an artist that wanted to create a sculpture or a painting. A lot of these creative projects are way bigger in our mind than we could create in reality. This isn't excusing his decade-long development life cycle. This is just pointing out how this works really, especially when you're the only one on a project. When you're working on something solo and there's no one around for you to voice ideas from, bounce back ideas, or even push back on some things that you have in mind, you end up becoming an echo chamber, affirming every decision you make and never seeing yourself as wrong, and just pushing ahead with things that are probably misguided in the long run. Could any of us honestly say we can make a much better Yandere simulator than the developer himself in as much time or less? Maybe some of us could. However, I wouldn't put myself on that list, and maybe you wouldn't either. So the last point that I want to make is likely the most controversial one, and it has to do with the whole solo developer mindset. A lot of people are saying that he'd be better off working in a team of developers, or at worst just selling the game off to another larger company so that they can finish it with all the assets that he currently has. This is tough for me to really agree with, seeing how if this game is truly a dream of his, something that he's worked on for about a decade, I'd have a tough time just giving it away for someone else or letting someone else take on the primary creative direction of it. However, if it's for the good of the game and it ends up creating a better final product, at the end of the day, I would definitely give it to someone else. But I can see and I can empathize with someone that's a bit reluctant to do that. But if he didn't make a Patreon where he had thousands of paying individuals support a product that they weren't getting, I'd be on the fence on this topic and probably leaning towards Yandere Dev staying a solo dev. However, he has, and ultimately he's just failing his Patreons. But more about being a solo developer, if you've ever played classic games like Five Nights at Freddy or Minecraft or other ones that defined or even created genres of their own, a lot of them started with a single person's dream for something that not a lot of people believed in, but through their own hard work and perseverance and many nights spent alone coding on a computer, they were able to create something that thousands and even millions of people could enjoy. Yes, he could definitely use some help with other things such as the art and the sounds and in general just the game design. But if he ends up creating an amazing game and he does it all by himself, I'm sure no one would be complaining about it. So it seems that a lot of fans have first come across this game at the end of middle school or the beginning of high school, and they're now sitting here with college degrees wondering when this game is going to come out. And your worries are pretty justified, especially if you're a big fan of the game and you see it with a lot of potential. I think controversies like these are especially important for highlighting just how difficult it is to create games and how long a normal game life cycle is. Overwatch took something like 7 years, Fortnite like 10 years, and how the games currently are nowhere near how they were in the beginning and the pre-alpha stages. It's really tough making even the most basic of changes. Something like adding a new character or implementing movement can take months by themselves. Again, I'm not defending this individual, I just want to highlight some of the points that a lot of people may miss when you're just deciding to criticize a developer for a game that he's working on by himself. All in all, I do hope the game comes out for the fans' sake especially, and it sucks that a video that I created about 7 months ago is getting this type of attention for this reason. Because although I do like the fact that my channel is getting more notice, it sucks that it has to be at someone else's expense. So all in all, thanks for watching. If you watch to the end of this video, I do talk about a lot of coding stuff, tech stuff, and I wanted to make sure that I tackle this issue here. So don't forget to comment below your opinions on the situation and if you think I missed any major points of discussion, because I'm sure there's a lot that I'm brushing over in this video. In the next video, I'll get back to more traditional computer science comedy stuff. And yeah, if you like the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and peace.